Hey guys, I am back again with another video, and I wanted to discuss tonight something that has really just blown my mind. And I've been marinating on it for a little bit. I'm like, I've got to come share about this because it's a topic that I've been talking about as of lately, and that's millennials leading a ministry. Now, this all ties into narcissism, and I'm going to tell you tonight how that is. So, first of all, I was watching a video by a deeper PT. If you haven't heard of her channel, I suggest you check it out. I love her channel, but she did a video which just has completely blown my mind. It has not just affirmed me, but it definitely had triggered me in some crazy way as well. And I agree, it's grieved my spirit. There's just so many things that have come to the surface after listening to that video. So I've had chance to just think about everything and come back on here, and I've really felt led to come share because I have to sound the alarm, right? I have to shed light on what is going on because that's what we've been called to do as believers. We've been called to shed light in the darkness, right? Pierce the darkness with the light of God and reflect God's light on earth. And so a part of that is shedding light on things that are wrong, right? And the things that need changing. And it doesn't mean that everything's supposed to be perfect and all of that. But what's right is right and what's wrong is wrong. And a lot of times there are organizations, companies, and just people stuck in certain systems that are no longer working. And it takes people who are willing to step out and be vocal to initiate changes. No, just one person can't change it. You need an army of people. You need people who are awakened in order to initiate change. You have to have people who are willing to deal with the good, the bad, and the ugly that comes along with implementing change. And it can be a tough thing. It can be a very tough thing, and it's very hard to be an agent of change, a change agent on this earth. And so I have to really sound the alarm tonight. And I'm not going to keep you on long. This isn't going to be a long message, but I really just wanted to share and shed the light on it tonight because I know there are a lot of people who are dealing with this very issue. I've seen it, I've seen responses. So I know that I have not been alone in dealing with this. And I know that other people are dealing with the same thing. So, Lord Jesus, help me. Oh, this is weighty, you guys. This is very weighty. So, oh my God. I literally got free tonight. And I'm gonna tell you something. Half the battle is one where you know what the heck you're fighting against, right? Even when it comes to narcissism, give yourself credit if you have awakened because that's half the battle, right? You you're not going to be healed overnight. It's going to be a process. There are many things to learn. There are many things to work on as you're going through this process of healing, but just having this awakening experience is empowering because you now know what the issue is. You now know what it is you've been dealing with. And now you can start to develop the tools, the skills to deal with these people. You can begin your healing journey. You can begin to become empowered, and you can start setting limits for yourself. And the whole script changes and flips once you have been awakened. And so half the battle is one, just knowing what you're fighting against. A lot of people don't know what the fight is, and it can be tiring. It can be um, debilitating. It can be discouraging to not understand what is this that I'm dealing with. Am I going crazy? Is it me? A lot of people think it's them. No, it's not you. It's a whole system. So on a deeper PTE's channel, she made a video about boomer abstinence. Now, this video is not to bash anyone. Again, this is just me speaking out and shedding light on what needs to be changed. Okay. There are many things that this generation has done for us that they've done that have been amazing. I mean, they've laid incredible foundation. So this video is not to bash or dishonor anything like that. This is like a war. We're at war, okay? This is a spiritual war. This is also a psychological war. And so I have to empower my people, okay? I can't just sit here and just do nothing. I have to at least talk about it. So she talked about boomer obstinance, and I encourage you to go watch the video. So I'm just going to repeat some of the points that she made in her video and kind of tie it together with what I've dealt with and what others have dealt with leading in ministry as a millennial. And if you haven't checked out that video yet, click the link in my bio and go look at that video. Go watch it. Because I really dive deep into what the experience has been like for myself and other millennials who have led in ministry. So she says that boomer obstinance has everything to do with the battle of wills, ownership, control, and a lack of respect. When I heard that, I said, ding, 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 ding. It's so true. And what does that boil down to? Somebody take a guess. What does that boil down to? I'll help you out. Narcissism. Narcissism. That's what it boils down to. Ownership, control, power, control. It boils down to narcissism. And for the longest time, I could not figure out what is this what is this stronghold in our churches? What is this? It's narcissism. Narcissism ties into spiritual and psychological. You have to understand both sides, okay? So absolutely all up in the churches, there's systems built on narcissism. And we know this, those who are familiar with the disorder and MPD, you know that it's everywhere. Churches, schools, anywhere you turn, you're going to run into a narcissist. And that's why I really empower people to operate in their personal power, because wherever you go, you're bound to run into a narcissist. You could cut this narcissist off. You can go no contact with this one, but then you get a new job. Hey, your boss might be a narcissist, or hey, you might be working with a narcissist as they're your coworker, or you move into a new neighborhood. Guess what? You have a narcissistic neighbor. They're everywhere. You cannot escape narcissists. So those people who tell you, no contact is end all be all, that is not true. You have to be empowered from within. You have to be firm in who you are. You have to have a very, very strong sense of self to stand up against narcissists. You will be fine as long as you have a strong sense of self and a strong set of standards and boundaries. You'll know exactly what to do. And it's not to say that you can't be manipulated. That's not true. but you'll have the tools, like you'll develop the tools and you'll develop the skills you need to identify certain things, and you'll have the gift of you prayerfully will have developed and strengthened your gift of discernment by going back within and healing from within. You then become back in tune with your feelings and your body, and you learn to trust yourself again. So you develop self trust. Once those things are in place, the narcissist better run, because you will not be easily manipulated. I'm telling you. So anyway, we talk about millennials leading in ministry. This is what you have been up against. Boomer obstinance. Look it up, research it. So some other things that she said about the boomer generation and the boomer obstinance is that this group is fear-based. So they're completely resistant to trying and learning new things. They're because they have a fear-based mindset. And I'm not saying every one of them, but overall, there's a level of fear-based mindset there. They can't be moved. Another thing she made reference to is that they cult up or group up and only let a young person in ever so often. I said, "What?" She is telling this is the truth. This has been our experience. They group up, and ever so often they'll let a millennial in. Ever so often they'll let a young person. It's like one or two, like not a lot. It's just maybe one. And it's like, okay, that's enough. And so another reference that she made was that they're strong and powerful because they are mighty in numbers. So their large number gives them strength. And this made me think, and something that's been on my heart is that millennials, we need you to stand up. Like, you need to get in position. This is a call for you to get in position. And I see the what the enemies try to do with this has been like division between the the generations, and it's like devastating, it's disheartening that there's been such division. But millennials, we need for you to get into position because we don't stand a chance to change anything or to shift the system if we're not doing what we've been called to do, if we're not stepping up into positions, because that one little person they're letting in can't do it by themselves. And let me clarify that, because I do understand that that person has to be qualified to lead. So I'm not saying anyone should be let in or anything like that. I understand that there has to be a call to the ministry, right? There has to be a call to leadership. That leader has to be developed. They have to show themselves approved. So it's not just, oh, anyone can lead. No, this leader does have to be qualified. I understand that. But there are a lot of leaders who are qualified or who can be qualified if there was an opening for them, if they were welcome. And a lot of leaders get discouraged because they don't see an environment that fosters this welcoming of leadership of young leaders. There's no environment that says, hey, it's okay for you, for the millennials to lead. I haven't quite seen that yet. I've seen the couple, the few, but that's it. That's all I've seen, and I give leadership credit for that, for being open to that, because that's a step in the right direction. But where we're at right now is It's time for new leaders to be in leadership. It's time for new leaders. Okay? I don't know how else to say that. I'm just trying to watch my words right now. But there's a succession that should be taking place, right? Because if not, everything's gonna come crumbling down. That's the only other thing that's gonna happen. And I know that that's not the outcome that organizations want, but that's really all that's gonna happen. The impact of this boomer obstinance is that things change so fast that they really couldn't keep up or they can't keep up, so they drag the reins. Y'all, tell me this ain't true. If this is not the truth, then I don't know what is. The truth will set you free tonight. The truth is gonna set you free tonight like it did for me. Oh my gosh. Hold on, y'all. The truth gonna set you free tonight. And I'll set a whole lot of people free tonight. So, excuse me, I can be a little silly sometimes. So they drag the reins. So it's like, oh, we're just gonna drag this on out as long as we can. And I've been waiting because I've always been an observant person, discerning person, and I've always known what my gifts are. And so I'm very observant and very in tune spiritually. I have a strong discerning of spirit's gifts. And so sometimes I just observe to see what are we dealing with here. Now, I recognize um, things before I stepped into leadership. But when I stepped into leadership, I saw the light bulb was on and I just saw everything that you will see when you are leading. And it was shocking. It's been more than challenging. Um it's like move trying to move a mountain. That's what I can say it's been like for me. And I'm sure a lot of you other millennials can relate. It's literally been like trying to move a mountain. A lot of times I sit back and I ask myself, am I called? Is it really my duty to be here to do what I'm supposed to do? And God will confirm it for me. And if not, I'll leave. I'll follow the right protocol in order to be released or leave. But um, other times God has confirmed it for me, and it's like, God, well, what? How does this change? Because this boomer abstinence is just ugly. I have to call it what it is. It's ugly. It's so ugly. And it's almost like, and you'll have to check out my other video. I mean, I went into detail in that video, but it's almost like you can't tell me anything because you're younger than me. Although you may have been someone who has been in ministry or even been a church goer for 30 years and you have not changed at all. Uh, but then you have a millennial or a younger person who has completely changed in a certain amount of time. I mean, so you have different stages of spiritual growth and development. You have people at different stages. So just because you are however many years older than me doesn't actually mean you're more mature than me in certain areas. And they can't see that, they can't take that, and all they do is look at the fact that you're younger than them, and they refuse to try something different. There's just the resistance is insane. I've and you know what? And it's not even just the ministry. I've experienced this on the job as well. Back, I don't even know how long it was ago, but I worked for a company, won't say their name, and I worked in HR, and I saw the same foolishness and foolery when I worked for that job because it was a job full of boomers. And, a lot of times wherever I go, I'm like usually one of the youngest people there. It's been that a lot of the time, I got a lot of jobs I work at, or just even in ministry. And, I want to encourage you, don't ever let your age or anything stop you. If God's telling you to go, go. There is purpose in whatever He's telling you to do. And you might not have the full understanding at the time, but you have to be obedient to the call of God. You have to be obedient to what He's saying. And there's some repercussions for disobedience. So be obedient. I remember we took this trip, I want to say like, ooh, was it like 4 years ago or something like that, 4 or 5 years ago? And it was to celebrate one of our bishops in another state. And I was the youngest person there. I took my kids with me. I didn't care. I didn't care. I was the only young person there, but you know what? God told me to go. And so I went. And I've always been like that. I've always been uh I don't deal with fear like I do, but it's weird because on some ways I have. On other sides, I'm completely fearless. It just depends on what the situation is, I guess. A lot of times when it comes to me, especially my call in ministry, I don't play about that. Like, I'm really fearless when it comes to stepping out on that type of thing. And so I don't really care who says what. I'm not even worried about. I'm kind of like, you better be wondering if I even want to be around you. Like, pretty much that attitude. Like, I don't even, my, I have such tunnel vision when it comes to ministry and my purpose that I don't really pay attention to all those other distractions. That's all they are, is distractions, the smearing. And I've never ever cared about that. Had people who clearly have shown their hate for me or their dislike and all of that. I can care less. You will not stop me from doing whatever it is I feel like I'm supposed to be doing. No one's gonna stop me from doing any of that. That's the attitude that I've always had. And so even back then, it just amazes me sometimes when I look back and I'm like, Dad, I was a young person on that trip. And I took my kids too. And I just did not even care. But that's because I know what God told me to do. There was purpose in it. So be encouraged to just do whatever it is God's saying for you to do. You might not understand it, but just do it anyway. Do it, even if you're scared, just do it anyway. So, yeah, so my job, all right, so I worked I was in HR. Oh my gosh, y'all. I couldn't understand why this department was paper based. Clearly, we were in the electronic age, and for HR to be I don't know if it was all the departments within HR, but I know my department, all paper. And I could not understand this for the life of me. It was insane. I had a boss and he had so many he has so much paper in his office. He had piles and boxes of papers in his office. Like, you literally would trip. It was like going through a maze. Like, he had that much paper in his office, and I would just, like, be like, "What is going on?" And even the type of work we were doing, I'm like, "Why on earth would we be doing this on paper? Why is this not electronic?" It was the most bizarre thing to me. Everything was paper, and I just could not I just could not believe this. I could not wrap my head around it, and the whole department was in chaos. It's just complete chaos. I mean, can you imagine? Um, and so instead of adopting a system that would be more efficient for them, you would produce more results. You wouldn't wear out your workers. You're gonna stay stuck in the system of bondage. Like, instead of elevating, it was like, because of their mindset, they were not open to elevate to something that would be more beneficial for their entire company, for their entire department. And and so that's another arena where I'm like, this is this is really crazy. This is really crazy. And so this boomer obstinance is just resistant to change, just completely resistant to change, completely completely closed-minded to new systems. And so what do, right? It's like, what do you do? And it can be so hard to deal with, because you're at some point, you're like, is this worth the fight? And that's a lot of the times I question, is this worth the fight? Because I factor in all of that when I'm thinking about doing something. Okay, is this a battle that I actually need to fight? And that's a strategy where you gotta know that you're not gonna win every battle. You wanna win the war, not every single battle. So you have to know what battles to lose, really. What battle is not yours to fight in order to win the war? And so that's something to think about and consider, even when you are thinking about initiating change. Is this your fight? Identify if this is your fight. So what do you do? Before I go any further, I want to let the cat out of the bag. We're dealing with the stronghold. We're dealing with a couple different strongholds here, but we're dealing with the stronghold of pride. That's what it is. That's the bottom line. The stronghold of pride. Sound familiar? Narcissism, pride, same thing. It's a stronghold of pride now. And like, narcissism is more than one stronghold. You're dealing with more than one stronghold, but pride is at the root of it as well. So we're down to a narcissistic system. So let's shift our focus and start looking at it as a narcissistic system. That's where we start. I've experienced boomer obstinance, as you might have. And 2, know if this is your fight. 3, this is a system of narcissism. Those are the 3 keys I got tonight. So I don't have any more answers. I don't have anything else. So I am going to go back to God and start seeking God. Okay, what's next then? We're dealing with the system of narcissism. How does this change? Now, one thing that God put on my heart today was the millennials need to come on. So that's why let me share this, because that's a part of the strategy. Millennials first have to get in position. Okay, we need you to get in position and stay in position. So knowing that this is a narcissistic system and that the reins are really being dragged out, what do we do? Well, first you got to get in position. Learn from this generation too. Learn from this generation and increase your numbers. That's the first thing, because you have to have allies in a war, right? You need some allies. So always make allies, but this war cannot be won if you are not even in position to fight. So please get in position. And then, like I said, it's not, there's been such division. So it's not that we want to continue to divide. We don't want to divide. We want unity. I know I seek unity. I'm seeking unity and a change in the system and a shift in the system. That's what I'm seeking. And that's what I'm been called to initiate. And so once we're in position, now we can start doing more work. Now we can start bridging the gap. Oh, y'all thought I was gonna say something else? No, we're seeking reconciliation and unity. So we have to start bridging the gap. We have to start having these conversations. So if we're dealing with a generation that won't budge, is resistant to change, is all about control, and doesn't respect our generation, in what ways can we start initiating change? One of the, in my other video, one of the things I said was to, through service. And now, okay, I know y'all not ready for this. Okay, let me change what I'm gonna say, because I already know that you are not on board with that part yet. Not just yet. That takes a lot to get to that point, to put your ego and pride aside and to step into servanthood. Okay, that's everyone's not there. Oh, actually, a lot of people are not there. So let's just scratch that. So get in position and then figure out ways to start bridging that gap. Just start thinking about it. Start conversations though. And like I shared in my other video, one thing I did was I started with where I leaded. And that's maybe something that you can do. Start from the seat you're in, lead from the seat you're in. And so I started the conversation through a book study. And actually, it went really well. And so surprisingly, I started hearing things from, you know, that generation that I've never heard before. That's like, wow, that I've never known that. And just to see their perspectives and their thoughts, I mean, it was really an eye opener for me, and I really hope that they feel the same way when they heard from the millennials. But the conversation was started. That's the point. The conversations got started. So that's maybe where you could start. I have other ideas that I put out on my other video. This is really what we're dealing with. That was really my point in coming on here, because I just wanted to put language and give language to our experience. So now it's not in the dark. Now it's out in the open. This is what we've been dealing with, boomer obstinance. And yeah, so I'm going to leave this here. I'm going to end this conversation here. I'm sure I'll be back to shed more light on this. The more I study and learn more and even hear from God. And so, yeah, I hope this helps someone. I hope this helped affirm someone like this affirmed me tonight. I'm so grateful that she posted this video tonight, because it really freed me in some type of way. And it's really, like I said, almost devastating, like, to be in this position, but we can't back down. We cannot give up. I feel like a wounded warrior after I listened to her video, but this wounded warrior is getting back up to fight again. And I hope that you do the same thing. All right, y'all. That's all for now. Talk to you all later. Bye bye.